Hey yo, this is another episode of the Steven from the Old Time Podcast. Listen to my dad, he's awesome.
Welcome to a new episode of Steven from the All Time Podcast. I am your host, the Ayatollah of hip hop, the whole damn show, the rated R podcaster, a visionary, a revolutionary, and the voice of the voiceless, where we bring you nothing but the best in hip hop and wrestling, all combined in one. And we do not promote anything from that loser, Sami Zayn, that wants to be included in every storyline. Stay away. We don't need you. It
The
is
views
over.
of Sami Zayn are only Steven's views and not representative of the all-time podcast.
With my co-host this evening in the right-hand corner.
Hey, what's up? What's up, everyone? You recognize the voice. It's the greatest there is, the greatest there was, and the greatest there ever will be, Derek Alltime.
And in the bottom left-hand corner.
Hey, what's going on, people? You already know who it is. Your favorite co-host, the Black Eric Bischoff, the V-neck Lord, the leader and the ruler of the podcast world, lover of everything, EO Sky. It's your boy, Trap All Time. And always remember, I am better than you, and you know it.
And in the bottom left-hand corner.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am him, and I have arrived. The Black Phenom, the showstopper and podcast talker, the man, the head of the table, in Harlem's own, with everybody saying, Cavallo.
And the edge hater, right? We can't forget that.
Fuck Adam Copeland.
But before we get into this episode, we just want to give all you viewers a few seconds to go and like and subscribe, leave comments, whatever it is that you do, keep us, engaging. So please do that for us. All right, so we're back now,
boys. It's great to have you guys here. The Fatal Four-Way is back. We are going to review last night's Survivor Series live in Vancouver, a Canadian Survivor Series War Games.
One of the shortest War Games, the shortest pay-per-views, I feel like, of the top four.
Really, right? I thought
it was only 4 or 5 matches for one of the big fours. I thought it was only 4 or 5 matches for like the B pay-per-views, not the one of the top 4 pay-per-views, but who knows?
So last night, Survivor Series, Vancouver, Canada. Before we get started in breaking down the matches, talking the matches and all that jazz, I just want to say one thing that stuck out last night for me. And that was the crowd. Is this the first PLE in Canada in a long time? I think so, right? Yeah. No, Derek?
No, I don't think so. I think there was one.
Wasn't it just there?
I think there was Money in the Bank, or there was something last year. There was a pay-per-view in Toronto last year.
That was the Elimination Chamber, right? With Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
it's still a while ago. It's still a while ago. And there was one thing about last night that stuck out to me, and that's why I asked if it's been a long time, because they've been across seas for a while in the last couple of PLEs. Was the crowd dead, or was the crowd dead?
I wouldn't say dead, but I think we have this expectation of anything that's not in America should be loud, because they had the sounder bar on for Jey Uso's entrance. I thought that was going to be big, and it was like 80%, when usually it's like at 100 or 90. So I don't think they were dead, but it wasn't as lit as the overseas crowd was, which that's what I expected, because overseas have the best crowd to me.
Yeah. Also, it's quite different. The type of stadium that they play in is significantly different whenever you get into Canada. Whenever you get into Canada, you're playing either in a football stadium, you play in a hockey arena, and that kind of jazz. The sound is a lot different than places in Europe, where sometimes the environment's different. Sometimes it's more soccer. Sometimes you're looking at overseas basketball, which the arenas are a little bit smaller as well. I think the space between where the ring was, which was 2 rings, and the fans, there was a significant gap between that. So I think the sound didn't reverberate as well as it does in a smaller arena. So it might have been that as well.
Yeah,
I think it's both. I feel like it was points where the crowd was really loud, and then there was points of the show where the crowd was just like,
Wasn't this a small crowd, though? Usually when they go overseas, isn't it like 30,000, 40,000? Yesterday it was only 17,000. Yeah. That's a small crowd for a Survivor Series, I feel like.
Yeah. Go, Derek.
No. It is what it is. I mean, I believe they sold out. But selling out a 17,000 arena place is not the same as selling out 30,000, 35,000 or more, right? So we got to look at not only the size, the configuration, all that kind of jazz. Famously, last year's Survivor Series was at that place in Chicago where you could only fit 15,000 people, but the acoustics of the place made it sound like everyone was the loudest they've ever been, but there
Especially
was
when
less. There
CM
was
Punk
actually
came
less.
out.
Exactly, but there was actually, I believe, the same amount of people or less. So I think it has to do a lot with the acoustics. But to Cavallo's point, we've been really privileged in terms of Europe, and Crown Jewel is in Saudi Arabia, where they're loud. The stadiums are built for that. So it could have been a combination of everything, to be honest.
So let's get into the Survivor Series War Games evening and break down the matches. Starting off, and I'm actually super happy that they started off with the women's
one. I kind of knew they were going to start.
They
with that
always
first
do.
anyway.
Every year they do, though.
Yeah, but it's a really good way to kick off the show. It really sets a standard for what's to come after, and everybody needs to live up to what they had brought to the table with the first match. As everybody knows, I have absolutely no idea what's going on with the women's division. I pay attention to a certain extent, so I'm going to give the floor.
You like the other women on the other show, Mina, Cheryl Karma, and what's her name, shaking their tits. That's what you like on AEW. Mina, Cheryl Karma going like this with Mariah May. That's what you like.
we do not speak of that low class show on this podcast.
Wow.
You better not start with me because we're gonna
Don't start
that low class horrible show.
Wow, that's not nice to say.
When was the last time that you know what? I'm not gonna get
That's
them
not
any.
nice to say
I'm not gonna give them any time of my speaking. So you go ahead.
Cavallo has just high expectations of everything. That is why he hates
Not
on
at all.
AEW so
Not at
much.
all. They're just overrated, like Adam Copeland. So I feel like when you have
Adam Copeland and overrated don't go in the same sentence.
Do you know how big AEW was from 2019 to 2022?
Absolutely.
How people was feeding over. Oh my God, AEW. So what happened? What changed?
I just think it's the interest level of people and what the people's expectations are of it. And you know what?
They bring in the best in the world over there. Isn't that what the best wrestle? Isn't that what they say?
Well, you want to have that slogan. You want people to tune in with it. I just think that they're based more on in-ring performance versus storylines. And that's where somebody needs to come in. And I've said this on the show numerous times, and we've had conversations about this. There needs to be somebody that comes in and puts the storylines together and is able to do that, because right now it's not being done properly. That's really it. And then we'll see what it is. And
the matches are too long. First of all, the matches go too long. You think it's about to finish, then it doesn't. Then you got this person kicks out of most dangerous moves. They don't sell. The matches are not good neither.
There needs somebody
and the matches,
and there needs to be somebody there that's going to put all the pieces of the puzzle together for them. And then I think it's just going to excel. And absolutely, I need to be writing for WWE, AEW, TNA.
No, you should not. You should not.
And everybody.
No, you should not. You would have Sami Zayn as a damn referee or something. You would not even want him in the ring. No,
he would be part of the storylines.
I do not support you writing for any company at all.
Well, hold on a second. Sami Zayn, he would just be part of proper storylines, and he would just need to get trained on how to be on the mic. That's really it. Maybe cut that beard, cut that hair, and have some nice clothes to wear when he walks to the ring, and not look like the homeless man I saw a couple of weeks ago downtown.
He gotta get. He do good. He gotta give up that homeless man look. That homeless man look is.
Back to the women's War Games match. We're not gonna talk about Sami Zayn.
Trap, the floor is yours. The women's War Games match. So kick it off for us.
The women's War Games match. It was Team Rhea Ripley versus Team Liv, and on Team Rhea Ripley, we had the Eradicator Rhea Ripley. She teamed with Bianca Belair, the EST, the Genius of the Sky, Io Sky, of course. And then we also had Bayley and Naomi. So that's Team Rhea Ripley. And then Team Liv, we had the women's champion, Liv. We had Nia Jax, the WWE women's champion, Raquel Rodriguez. And then the other two were Tiffany Stratton and Candice LeRae. And that was your team of the War Games.
May I add?
Your hand is up. Yes.
Please, I'd like to speak.
Yes.
Rhea Ripley's
amazing
entrance.
Amazing. I can't get enough of Rhea Ripley.
Like, Like
Rhea
just
Ripley's amazing.
the
Superstar.
impact that she has made with that
The
entrance,
aura.
with that mask on. She looked
The
like if she
stomp.
was part of Slipknot. It just was amazing. The reaction that the crowd get. Talk about when the fans actually,
She always gets a pop
but
everywhere she goes.
talk about
One of
that
the
evening.
loudest pops.
Talk about
She,
that
she
evening where the
can't
crowd
speak though. She
was
needs mic skills though.
no,
I'm
but
tired. I'm tired of her saying bloody and bloody this and bloody that
She's from
and
Australia.
speaking
That's
like
how they
John
talk.
Cena with the it's like I hate that. It irks my damn nerves every time she speaks. That's just me
she's
though.
from Australia. That's the way
Right.
they
That's how
talk
she's
down there. I
spoke.
don't
No, no,
understand.
no,
That's
no, no.
the
I'm talking about
bloody
when
is
she
part of it.
beside the bloody part. I'm talking about when she's like, I'm gonna kill you. Like all that extra
Yeah,
shit
because
irks my
she's
nerve.
screaming at somebody. That's how you show evoke
You get
emotion.
to
You're
sound like a
screaming.
monster when you get to scream. What the you know how many other females scream and they don't sound like that?
I don't understand that. You complain about Rhea Ripley screaming and her sounding like a monster, but you like the Wyatt Six and all of that spooky stuff. That doesn't
their
make
characters
sense.
is monsters. They don't talk like that. The first one they don't speak. Who have you heard
But
speak?
still, that. But my thing is this:
Have you
that
heard
I
them
don't
speak
like how
before?
I
it
gotta
doesn't matter if they
interrupt.
speak. That
I need
thing
to make
doesn't
a
work
point.
within the wrestling.
I need to make a point before we continue.
Yes.
Cavallo, before we got on to recording this episode, said that he was not going to
Uh,
argue. Number
I think he's
one,
gonna say that. I think he's gonna say that shit.
he was
Yeah.
going to sit back and
Yep.
relax and just listen and add his
Oh,
points. But
you're
I
right.
guess
You're
so
right. You're right.
far,
I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up for the rest of the day. You're right. Talk.
boys, Trap, let's get started with you. Your thoughts on the match. We already spoke about Rhea Ripley coming out and making an impact with that mask, looking like she was part of
Rhea
Slipknot.
Ripley is just has all the aura. She's like when you see her, she's a superstar. That's a wrestler. I thought the match started off kind of slow in the beginning, only because, and I don't want to discredit her because I think she actually has a good. She's been good since she's returned. It's because it's hard to move around with somebody like Nia Jax's size. So it's hard to really do all the moves that you think you want to do and get her to and move her around. Like she's really the irresistible force. She's really too big. So you can't really bring her around too much. So I thought the match started off a little bit slow until once Tiffany Stratton and Io Sky came in. That's when the level and the crowd, I noticed they picked up more throughout the match. And overall, it was a pretty decent match. Like I said, it picked up towards the middle, toward the end. You had the spot with Tiffany Stratton and Io Sky coming off the cage. Io Sky with the trash can again. That's been her thing for the War Games. Overall, I thought Candice LeRae had some pretty good moments in there. Tiffany Stratton, Io Sky. Rhea Ripley with the riptide off the cage to live for the pin. I thought that was good. Overall, I thought it was okay. But again, like I said, it started off slow because again, Nia Jax, and like I said, she had some good matches this year, but her in that setting where there's a lot of people involved, it just didn't work. That's how I felt. But overall, I thought it was okay. It did what it was supposed to do, and it lived up to what it was supposed to be.
Something at some point that's super important. You mentioned the slow part. I find
Yes,
that
it started off
it,
really slow.
and it wasn't going as they wanted it to go. I find that like she was slow, like you mentioned. I
Yeah.
find that the spots that they were trying to do weren't really working as well as they should have. And towards where the end, where they were using more of the weapons, where Rhea was more into the match and doing a lot more of taking advantage of the match and doing most of all the spots. The whole back and forth with her and Liv. When Liv came out, she went back to get the baseball bat. Like that made the match what it was. Io Sky did, I think, a phenomenal job as she always does in matches like this. She excels, but the story line of this whole
Of Liv
thing.
and Rhea, or just the whole thing.
Well, first of all, the story of Liv and Rhea, that's something that in
Are you
itself,
tired of it
I'm
yet, or
not. I'm
no?
not tired of it. I just
Because
thought that,
people on Twitter are tired of it.
people on Twitter, a lot of people, the way they watch
They
wrestling, they don't watch
complain about
wrestling.
it.
They don't understand. They don't really understand storylines and stuff like that. And I keep them away from me. Fuck what they say on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. That storyline is money. That storyline makes sense. There's a lot going on with that storyline. I'm actually not impressed that Dom didn't have anything to do with this match and he didn't come out or
I'm kind of
anything
glad he
like
didn't.
that. But that was the whole main storyline. I find that this was just all put together quickly, and that nobody really cared about anybody else and what was going on in the match, right, Derek? I see your head nodding, and I'm gonna give you the mic for you to explain on the why behind that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Is the whole this whole pay-per-view felt a little bit different in a lot of regards, in the sense that they already knew where they were going to go for the men's match. They just didn't know where they were going to go for the women's match. And then we sort of started seeing it pick up like week after week of just like someone showing up, interfering. Now you got a team of bad guys. Now you got a team of good guys. But ultimately, there's a few things that I wish would have helped during that match. Like, I wish during the middle of the match they would have released the footage in terms of who injured Jade Cargill. I feel like that would have probably added a little bit of extra flair, extra juice in there as well. Especially if it turns out that it's one of the good guys who attacked her for that spot. I feel like that could have been interesting as well. I think the Trap's point, the beginning of the match, was slow for all the reasons you mentioned. Also, I feel like Bayley, after the beginning of the match, I felt like she sort of started like waning a little bit. So I don't know if maybe something went wrong and maybe she tweaked something, but she did seem a little bit more, she seemed a little bit more sluggish towards the later part of the match. I think overall, and I texted Steven this yesterday, I felt like this whole pay-per-view, and it's going to echo throughout the rest of the matches, I felt like it was harder hitting than usual. I felt like we got like a lot of like hard contact on stuff. Like whenever Liv came out with that baseball bat, she was going for it with the baseball bat. There was no like putting your hand over it or sort of like kind of holding. She was swinging. And everything felt like it hit a little harder. It didn't feel like it had the level of skill that last year's match had, because last year's match was absolutely phenomenal. I just felt like it was just people out on a vengeance. And I think in that regards, it lost a little bit of steam. It's very hard to just maintain momentum when there's less skill and just hard hitting spots, because then if you miss a hard hitting spot, it doesn't really translate. And some people are good at hard hitting, like Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax. They're all good at those hard hitting things, but then Naomi sort of fell to the background. We really didn't see her too much. Bayley's the same thing. Tiffany Stratton had a few good moments, but overall it was pretty muted. So it's a little weird, and it was too much going on with not enough chemistry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but overall it was what it was. It's last year's match was so good that this year's match had no choice but to either beat it or be worse. And in this case, in my opinion, it was worse than last year. So
the people in it, there was a lot of filler. The match had filler, and the people who excelled and showcased it to that level were three of them, and that's it. Cavallo, thoughts on the match?
I feel like this match was I feel like sometimes I can tell when they over practice it, like they're waiting in spots for somebody to come, and like I noticed that like they're just waiting, and I'm like, why are you not moving? Or it just seemed very like it was very sloppy to me, in my opinion. Like it wasn't as good as the last one. I feel like I like the spot where Tiffany Stratton did her little swanton and Io Sky did her trash can thing. I don't know if I like the baby faces winning all the time, because I feel like the last 3 years the babyface always wins war games. So I think that this year I feel like I feel like Liv Morgan's team should have won storyline wise, because they've been so strong, like to going into like Royal Rumble season and stuff. I feel like it would have been better for them, because I don't think what does the babyface team get from winning this match? Like maybe I have to watch Raw and SmackDown this week to see what will happen going forward with this team that's put together. At least the Hills team, Liv and Raquel are good. They're together. Nia and Tiffany Stratton are together. Like they actually have relationship. The babyface team was just put together, so I don't know where we'll go from that. So I don't think I like the scrambled put together team for the match, but altogether the match itself was okay. Like it didn't really excite me like it usually does the previous years.
I got a question for y'all. I got a question for y'all actually. And while Trap was mentioning that the beginning of the match was slow, they kept repeating the rules of the matches yesterday night, like just to make sure that we understand. And I want to ask you guys this question. Do we feel like, because the match technically only starts once all the participants are are locked in, are together. Let's say that they were to change the rules format and you're allowed to go for a pin before anyone else gets there. But if the person gets pinned, they're out. And then it becomes a 5-on-4
Oh yeah.
or
So
whatever
like,
the
a,
case.
so like
That's how
elimination
it was.
match.
That's how it was in the
Exactly.
original Survivor Series, though, but
And,
without
yeah.
the cage.
And then
Yeah, it was
once the 5 are in,
yeah.
whoever gets the pin, they win because it's just there's a lot of things going on, and then that's it. That's all. But in the beginning, before everyone gets in, if you get pinned, ciao, bye, you're out. I feel
know
like
what you mean.
that
But
would
isn't that
add.
the normal
That
Survivor
was
Series match?
see,
Though?
that was how the old Survivor Series used to be. But what happened was they combined that with the War Games. Because remember, War Games is always a WCW thing.
Yep.
But the whole theme of the teams, and then if you pin that person, then that person is out. That's the original Survivor Series anyway.
We should go
So
back
I
to that.
like that. They should go back to that. Yeah. Have you pin them, and then it'll
I
be
feel like
5-on-4, then 5-on-3, then 5, or however it goes.
I just rather
like
them
that.
do the regular Survivor Series brand versus brand supremacy. I liked when like
that was nice.
like when the general managers were involved. Like I think when this is when Kurt Angle was the manager. Who was the manager of SmackDown? Was it Daniel Bryan? I think when they were actually involved in the backstage, like the
Yeah.
brawls when SmackDown. When like I
Teddy
actually
Long.
like Teddy. Was it Teddy Long?
Yeah, of course.
Well, at some point, Survivor Series, it was always like the Team
No, I'm
Raw
talking about the
versus
last
Team
one. I'm
SmackDown.
talking
Oh,
about
the last one.
The last one when Kurt Angle was like getting beat up. I think he was the general manager for Raw, and he actually got beat up by the SmackDown people. I just forgot who the SmackDown general manager was, but I like the brand supremacy when they make that into a storyline. Like not just we're adding people from both shows into one big storyline. Like,
But Survivor Series started off where it was a team versus a team. That's what it was. You create your team. That's how Undertaker came.
Yeah, no, I know
right?
that. Yeah.
So like that was more interesting than a War Games match inside a steel cage with 2 rings. To me, I like you create your own team. Okay, you get your own guys and you go up against another team. It makes it's so much more interesting. You see guys go up against each other that you rarely see. It's so much more interesting, and I find that Survivor Series is based on that. It's been like that since the beginning of time. So why remove that throughout the evening? Look, at the end of the day,
I mean, they didn't really. They just combined it with the War Games.
But yeah,
so they still keep the team. They just added War Games to it instead of the traditional. I'm gonna pin you. Now it's 5-on-4. Then I'm gonna pin you 5-on-3 and whatever.
You have 5 matches. Make your main event in the War Games in the steel cage, and then but all the other matches,
other ones, make them like I know what you mean.
Right?
The teams, like how they
and
did.
also there's plenty of ways we could go about this. Like we could do the whole Raw versus SmackDown. We could literally have a qualifying tournament to determine who goes and then build on storylines from there. Oh, these 2 guys just fought for the championship. Now they're on a team together. Let's see how that goes. Like have that sort of like conflict, because before that's what it was. Like there was times where team Raw had 3 bad guys, 2 good guys, and well, guess what? Figure it the fuck out. You know, like it could be that. Also, we give a crown jewel championship to the champions. Like, how about we fight for something for War Games? How about War Games mean something?
But then they have that for bragging rights, though. Wasn't that pay-per-view called bragging rights?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a thing too, right? But let's give them something. Like, let's give them anything as to like. It's either we go for stories, which in this case it was storylines based, or we don't go storylines based and we develop stories from this point on going forward. So there's many ways to go about this, but I think it's pretty much a consensus amongst the group here that we should go back to an older formula of doing it. Listen, it is what it is. It's going to be entertaining regardless. But if you go back to an old formula, now you hit the nostalgic button for a lot of people, and I think that's going to move tickets as well. So,
and I also missed when they involved NXT into the brand supremacy thing.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's where you can see like you've never seen Walter versus Braun Strowman, because at that time they was on 2 different shows. So you get those fantasy matchups for that match.
Yeah.
But now because everybody's on every show, it's not really a brand supremacy because who's on what show at this point?
That's true.
So
agree.
But yeah.
Rhea Ripley finishing off the match, putting Liv through the table, pinning her 1, 2, 3, and as we all expected, Rhea coming up with her team victorious. Let's get into the big question mark match of the evening.
Here you go.
The big question. Yes. The big question mark.
Don't say his name wrong either.
Shinsuke Nakamura
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you
Hey,
go.
we didn't get
Finally said it
Takamichi
right.
Noku.
Noku,
I
right?
was gonna say
Or
Taijiri.
yeah, or
You're
fucking
so
Goku
something is wrong with you.
or Vegeta
First of all,
or
can I say this?
Goku.
His new theme song is like one of the best theme songs that this new whoever is doing the music. His theme song, his whole aura coming out yesterday
Yeah,
was so fire.
that intro was
Oh
Yeah,
my
it was
insane.
fire.
god. Oh my
All
god.
dark, and then he just shifts, and they sort of zoom in towards like that moon in the back. That was
Yes.
it was
Yes.
beautiful. Also, it's his old song but modified. It's
Yes. But more
beautiful.
Right.
darker. More
Yeah,
darker.
beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
Since my hand is up, I'd like to really add something. As somebody who did
Look like
not
you
enjoy
testifying.
him, somebody who did not enjoy him previously,
Mm-hmm.
being a darker character, being a more angry character, getting rid
You
of that
like it.
whole classical style of coming out, acting insane, doing all these weird things before he gets to the ring like he's possessed. He actually really looks great. He had this is I think this is his old gimmick from New Japan Pro
New
Wrestling.
Japan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And he excels in it because he's dark. He doesn't go extra. He's not flamboyant. He's like that whole Japanese theme, that the way he came out and took off the mask was like, this dude is fucking eerie. This is serious shit. Like, I find it really works for him. And I had no idea how the match was gonna go. And before we get into that, just his entrance really made him be more of a top guy. He's able to be more of a top guy and not just come out and act like a clown and have nothing to him. This really made him. It was interesting.
Yep.
And you know what I missed too? Remember before he went away for this long time when he was feuding with Seth Rollins, I believe, and he used to have those vignettes where they had like the
Yeah,
little comic backgrounds, because he's not really good on the mic. So I like when they have those background things to make the story more interesting. So I'm hoping they stick with that because I'm not really interested in hearing him in the middle of the ring with a microphone for five
well, no,
minutes.
he doesn't talk English.
Yeah, but I feel like those vignettes that he had before helped build the storyline.
Mhm.
Like even for the little things he was saying, like Seth Rollins are gonna kill you, but it showed like him with a sword and shit. Like I felt like that was, especially with this new dark character, I feel like it will work even better now. So
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see where it goes. Like that's what I'm talking about. With storylines like this, where you actually look forward to see what's next. So
So Shinsuke Nakamura versus our favorite LA Knight
yeah.
Yeah.
for the United States champion.
Mhm.
Question mark.
I was surprised he lost, to be honest.
Why?
I didn't think Shinsuke coming back just now was going to win it because the fact that Andrade and Carmelo was fighting 7 times and then he also had a feud with them. I didn't think he would just come back and just automatically win the belt. I thought maybe
I feel like he beat everybody
either,
though on SmackDown.
but he left and came back. So what I'm saying is you tied LA Knight in between Andrade and Carmelo and the dude from LWO. They had a little thing going on. I didn't think him just coming back and then his second match back, he gets the title. I just feel
Two
like you
weeks.
get, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like Andrade and Carmelo been there. They had done 7 fights. They don't fought LA Knight. So I don't know. I'm just wanting to see what they're gonna go with it because it's like he just came back and then all right, he's a title. He got the title again.
Are you not a fan of that? Because
I
the
gotta
tag
see where it
team,
goes.
because Machine
What you
Guns, they
mean?
came in and they just won and they beat a big team in their second match, and I definitely wasn't a fan of that. So
But
that's what
that's
I'm just
different.
asking.
We talking about Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, what does that
That's
got to do with
different.
anything?
What you mean?
They're
That's
brand
the
new. How are they beating
I
the
know they
bloodline, who
brand
took
new.
over the whole entire brand? And you have them little guys
First
come
of
in
all,
and beat them.
the bloodline didn't even need to have the tag team titles anyway in the first place.
But they did
That was
though.
the
My
first
point is
mistake.
that I feel like
But
out of the teams that was there, they had better teams that could have beat them that was there instead of a new team that no one knows in WWE to just have them win in the second match when they're small guys. I feel like
It
I didn't
depends.
like it.
Look. If you, I'll look at it this way. I was
Mhm.
super surprised that LA Knight lost. Okay, the match was a good match. I
Mhm.
it
enjoyed
was
the
a good
match.
match.
I
I
don't care
thought it
what
was a good
anybody
match.
says. The match was done correctly.
It was good.
The spots were really good,
The finish was correct. Everything. I don't have no complaint. I was just surprised that he won.
and
I didn't expect
Yeah.
it.
and the surprising thing is because it's LA Knight. Like, he only has held the title since SummerSlam, right? That's what, 4 months?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's not bad.
No,
He
it's
was
not bad at all. But where is the story gonna go next? What
Oh
are
yeah,
they
for
gonna
him.
do
That's what I'm
next?
saying.
Like, back in the day, we grew up watching titles change hands the title, the person who held the title had the title for 3 weeks to a month. Then they would have it for 2 months or 3 months. They would lose it, but it would build the storyline, and then they would get it back. So I think having Triple H at the head of that whole writing process and bringing in that old school mentality where it's like, hey, don't let your title holders hold the title for an extent, like a very long time. It makes no sense. Everybody's going on a title reign. You had Roman Reigns have the title for almost 4 years.
That
Okay,
was a lot.
you had that douchebag Logan Paul have the title for almost a year. Cody Rhodes is probably going to have the title for a year. Change it up a bit. Make somebody win the belt, hold it for another month or two, and then switch it back to who previously had it. Make it interesting. Make the storylines go for longer. And the way that Shinsuke Nakamura came back, he came back as the devil. He came back as somebody
he couldn't lose.
Yeah.
From the promos,
he had it 2 days.
But from the promos to the intro to the new character to the new persona, from the moment he came in, I knew LA Knight was going to lose. Yeah. There was no chance LA Knight was going to win because you don't invest that much money, that much effort, that much everything, and have the guy lose. Because guess what? All that money that you just spent and that time and marketing and you just killed it. He's gone.
No,
had Nakamura lost, it would have been over.
But my thing is this. Now, if he only holds the title again for another 2 days, then what does that do? Because that's what happened to him.
That's horrible. That'd be bad writing.
That's what happened to last. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna happen this time.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's gonna happen this time. And I honestly think that LA Knight having the United States Championship was an audition for LA Knight. And we said this before. We said this multiple times. We weren't sure. We were like, you need to give him a little title because he had a main title fight. We could tell he was outclassed in that match with Roman Reigns. We could tell he still had to learn. And all three of us, Cavallo hadn't joined the family as of yet. And we all said, you know what? Maybe he should win the US title. Let's see what he could do with the US title. And I think he did really well. He didn't lose any steam. He stayed really good on the mic. I think he got better in the ring. I think they probably.
I think he brought more relevance back to the U.S. title.
But did he need it though? I feel like he's big regardless.
No,
he needed it.
I didn't think he needed it.
He needed it because the guy who he won from at that time was winning all the matches, and he's a really talented wrestler. And then he went against Carmelo Hayes, which is one of the top 5, top 10 guys in WWE in terms of wrestling ability. He went against Andrade, that's another phenomenal wrestler, and now he just went against Nakamura, and he was good in the ring. He hasn't had a bad match, so I think
at this that without the title, because I feel like he's like the Raw version of Jey Uso. Jey Uso didn't need the Intercontinental title. I feel like him losing those championship matches made him more lovable.
But it's different.
Cavallo, Cavallo, you completely tapped out.
Your audio is messing up.
Your audio is messing up, Cavallo.
He can't hear us. I think his headphones are shut. Someone needs to text him.
The higher powers heard Cavallo complain again. And
they're like, we're just going to cut it.
No, the thing about Jey Uso and LA Knight, though, was like Jey Uso was already a superstar and established, and he already had the bloodline thing around him. As far as LA Knight, if you don't get that rolling, because remember, he had the loudest pops, he had all of that. You need to put a belt on him before the steam rolls down. So
that's right.
It was important.
That's right. And I think, like I just said, I think it was an audition for him. And I think once Cody Rhodes is done with Kevin Owens, I think we're probably going to be looking at Cody Rhodes LA Knight.
I like that.
I wouldn't be mad. Even if he loses, I wouldn't be mad at it.
Unmute your mic, Cavallo. There we go. Hello?
Yeah, I don't know.
There we go.
It just started. I had to unplug it. I don't know what happened.
I told them the higher power.
Mid rant. It was fantastic. The whole the second half of your rant, there was just nothing there. And you cut again. There you go.
You can't hear me?
No,
now we can hear you.
Wait, my whole second half, you didn't hear anything I said?
Absolutely not.
You didn't hear nothing you said.
I was actually saying some shit and I was proving my point.
Say your shit. Go. I'm giving you the floor.
No, I just said that I feel like he's like Jey Uso. I feel like they both had the crowd behind them, and they didn't need a title to make them bigger in the ring. I feel like they both had good matches without the title. I feel like Jey Uso, even after he lost the title, still was good. Even before he won the title, he still wrestles the same. I feel like LA Knight, he was always a good wrestler. He wrestles good wrestlers. So I feel like the matches are always good because of who he wrestles.
You got to
So I feel
elevate
like the
them.
But
title didn't
the
really
difference
need.
was no. But the thing is, Jey Uso was a champion, a tag team champion. He
Yeah.
already was over in somebody and being involved in the bloodline. You needed this for LA Knight because LA Knight wasn't involved in those big
Mhm.
storylines like that. So a title on him at that time will be right because if not, all his steam will lose. After a while, you're gonna get tired of all right. He's just fighting.
Mhm.
The fans wanted a championship on him to see how it could
Yeah.
go because eventually it could lead to a main event championship. So you got to take baby steps. Let's start with the mid card, see how he does with the mid card. Then if you're that star and you're a good wrestler, you eventually get to the big leagues. So he did need that championship.
Yeah.
As
You
far
can't
as
have a
Jey
guy win
Uso,
matches and not win a
right?
belt.
Yeah.
And
I
as
mean,
far as
not
Jey
that
Uso,
soon though.
Jey Uso was already established. He already won one of the best. They already say they one of the best tag team champions. So he's already well known. So again, he didn't need the belt. Just throwing the belt on him was just overkill already. But I
Also,
get
you
why
want
they
to
did
see
it.
how he conducts himself as a champion.
Right. As a
There's pressure
champion.
once you have a belt because now you're the standard in which everyone is compared and everyone's coming after you. You're not going after anyone. You have to know if a guy is ready to hold a bigger belt by giving him a little belt and see how he's able to hold that little belt. If the guy crumbles under the pressure, then you know he's not ready for the
He's not
big
ready for
shot.
it.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
Okay. Okay. So I have two questions, right? How long do you think after a guy debuts on Raw or SmackDown do you think they need to carry a belt? That's question number one.
The LA
It
Knight was
depends
on
on a lot of
SmackDown for a
stuff.
while though before
I
he
know,
got the
I'm
belt.
just asking you, what's the time limit for you? Like, if you think a guy's there for a year, he should have one ready 2 years, 3 years. What is there a time limit?
It depends on the wrestler, how they have good matches, what their steam is like. If they're
Yeah.
coming out and they're not getting no pop or nobody's behind them, then it's
Mhm.
like, all right, whatever. But somebody like LA Knight, it didn't just happen overnight. Like he progressed and progressed, and as he went on throughout the years, then people started jumping on. So that's why they put it on him. So it all
Because I feel
depends on
like
who you are.
once that feud with Bray Wyatt happened or didn't happen, and the crowd started getting behind him, he just got bigger on his own from just being who he is as a character. So that's why
Absolutely.
I'm saying that
Yeah.
I don't think that a title would have made or break him because he got super big. I think he was one of the biggest without even being in the title picture.
Yes, but keep in
Yes, but you
mind the
still
loudness of his personality. You can have a Stone Cold type, The Rock type character where he talks all that smack. He's the loudest guy on the mic. Everyone's saying L.A. Knight. The whole crowd's
and
behind
he
him,
don't
but
got no
he's got
title.
he got nothing.
He don't got
He
nothing.
got nothing. Like you got to give him something, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing with the WWE and Vince McMahon at the time. Had Vince McMahon not given Stone Cold any titles, whether it was a World Championship, Intercontinental, same thing with The
European,
Rock,
anything.
those characters would have absolutely died. They got those titles because they made themselves undeniable. And LA Knight made himself undeniable. And we see what happens whenever the wrestler is not ready. As talented as Andrade is, as talented as he is, and he gets title shots, he's not over with the crowd in terms of his persona.
Right.
He's not. He's good in the ring, but his persona, the crowd
Yeah,
is
but the
not,
crowd
they're
is
not
not.
behind him.
Yeah.
But is that not? Do you not think that's more important? I feel like during his matches, his crowd is invested in behind him, just not in his
Absolutely.
entrance and his promos. But I feel like when it's time for the ring to like when the ring bells, I feel like the crowd gets behind him during his matches because he's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
So is that not enough?
No,
It's
you
not
need
enough because
no.
Okay.
once you have the belt, you have to be able to make this talk. And if that doesn't talk, then you can't do any promos, and then you charge the guy chasing after you to take care of all the promos, and then you just sort of become like the guy who's like, oh, I beat everyone, but the crowd's not behind me. The crowd doesn't really care if I beat anyone, even though I put on good matches. The crowd doesn't. They're not buying it. So it's that weird sort of juxtaposition of situations. And I think LA Knight being so good on the mic made himself undeniable. But the problem is that he ran his mouth too quick. His talent in the ring wasn't there enough. So they're like, you know what? We gave him a chance with Roman Reigns. That's too steep of a curve. Let's bring him down a little bit. Let's have him have a few matches. Let's see if he's able to maintain that momentum on the mic and still have the crowd behind him. And then we'll give him a title shot. And you give him a title shot against a great wrestler in Logan Paul. And you have him win, and he looked good. He looked good doing it. So,
and he looked good defending the title. He
absolutely,
defended the title with good matches, and he hasn't had not one bad title defense match. And I felt like he brought more relevancy back to United States champion.
I agree.
And to your point, I hope to see him fight for it again, or move up to the next next thing.
Absolutely.
Yep. And before we move on, I see him losing the belt, and there's two question marks. He lost the belt so he can have a longer feud with Shinsuke Nakamura. Okay. Or he lost the belt because he's going to be in the Rumble and he's going to have a bigger play in the Rumble.
Can he not do both?
Mm.
Can he not have a big play in the Rumble and as well as
historically the WWE doesn't like to do that.
Yeah.
No. And if you put him in the final four in the Royal Rumble where it's LA Knight and 3 other guys, that could be big for him. That could elevate him a lot more because people are going to be behind him to win it. And he doesn't win it. And it'll just build the character up till the next year.
Mm-hmm. Right. They're going to be like,
Match number 3. We have Braun Breaker, the Intercontinental Champion.
This is wrestling, boys.
Versus Sheamus.
And Ludwig Kaiser.
And we'll get into it. Like you said, Trap, this is wrestling.
This was wrestling, boys.
Was this a really, really well put together
banger after banger after banger? Yo, Sheamus might be my favorite triple threat wrestler, bro. When it comes to triple threat and fatal 4-way matches, Sheamus might be my favorite.
Every match that Sheamus is in, bro. That's a triple threat or whatever the case may be, that match steals the show. The Gunther McIntyre Sheamus was astonishing. This one last night was insane. It was by far the best match of the night.
Yeah,
by far. By far.
I agree with you on that one. I definitely agree with you on that one. When I tell you they brought the house with that match, everything about that match was great from the beginning to the end. Just the storytelling in the match, just the hard hitting stuff. Like this is what
the crowd was behind it. The crowd.
I think that was the most the crowd was behind that match. Yeah. The crowd was behind that match the most.
That crowd's behind Sheamus. They love that white Irishman. Look. They hate Ludwig Kaiser. They sort of don't know with Braun Breaker, but he's undeniable.
They're barking, though. They're barking.
Yeah,
they like him.
Kaiser looked really good in that ring last night, going up against Braun and Sheamus. Like he impressed me. He's on the come up.
I thought he was good, but that match right there really showed him. When you put him in the ring with 2 superstars like that, I'm like, oh yeah, Kaiser could keep up. So I got new respect for Kaiser.
And Sheamus, I thought mid-match that Sheamus was gonna win. He had it teared down.
That crowd wanted him to win so bad.
Yeah, and I love how they use this. He never won the IC title thing.
Yeah.
So every time he fights for the IC title, I think at the very end of the match, because I think he reversed. Braun Breaker's finisher. I thought he was gonna win. Yeah, because he fell on him, but how they both tie it, and I'm like, he's about to win. He's about to be Braun Breaker after Braun Breaker just won it back. So I was like, I don't agree with this, but if he would have won it, I feel like I would have been happy for Sheamus.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one where Ludwig Kaiser literally got it at like 2 seconds, 2.9 seconds. Yes. I believed it so much. The camera wasn't even. You never saw him get in the ring. The crowd didn't make a noise whenever he got in the ring. He just pulls the ref. Oh, that was perfect. That was perfect. We've had issues in the last pay-per-views where people are like getting in the ring just a little late and the ref is holding his hand, but I believed in it so much.
And you got to give credit to Sheamus because he's been doing this for a very long time, so he's able to have this style of match continue and continuously. Like he's able to teach these two other guys that maybe haven't been doing it as long, but he's able to teach these guys on how to really excel in the ring when you're 3 or 4. You said it. He's one of the masters at these triple threat matches.
And I'm not really a big fan of triple threat sometimes because sometimes I feel like it could get low.
I love them. I
like them. It depends on who it is, but like anytime I see Sheamus in a triple threat, sign me up for it because like I said, triple threats can go. So I don't know, but when it's Sheamus involved, I'm gonna. I feel
like I appreciate his skills more. I think now he's considered a veteran. Cause I think it's only him, Randy Orton, and The Miz, who are the 3 oldest, still fighting from the previous generation. So I feel like his matches the last few years has been his best out of his whole career. Like the oldest he's getting and the more comfortable he's getting. Because I feel like I never really enjoyed watching Sheamus before, but I feel like these last few years, like I feel like he's been doing what he needs to do.
He's getting better with age. He's had a lot of injuries. The fact that he
Yeah,
could
that
still
too.
do this, I think he's the one who's probably found the perfect way to wrestle for taking into consideration his age and the weight, the mileage on his body. He wrestles his style and his game to perfection, no matter who he wrestles with. And Ludwig Kaiser is a young, athletic guy. And Braun Breaker is just a freak of nature. And to have Sheamus be the hard hitting one, be the guy who's like, he's going to take the damage, but dish out the most damage as well. Listen, I think Sheamus is building himself during the later part of this career. The crowd was so behind him that I feel he's going on that Kofi Kingston run. Not for a world championship, but to finally get that Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. It's going to be an insane pop. And at that point, Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer.
I think even right now, without the title, I feel like he's definitely a Hall of Famer.
I agree. But make yourself undeniable.
The Grand Slam.
And that last belt that he's missing is that one. And he rides off in the sunset with that. That is a perfect story. All four of us were behind this. I know all the fans are behind it. Don't care what anyone says. If you're not behind this, clearly you're not invested in wrestling. Shut the hell up. But I think this match stole the show. It was way too good. After that high, I feel like the matches were just a step under. It doesn't mean that they were bad, but I just felt they were a slight notch under. But hats off to those guys, man. They tore down the roof, and Braun Breaker.
They did.
Jesus.
Braun Breaker's incredible.
Braun Breaker's
man.
amazing. He's really amazing.
Braun Breaker's incredible, man.
Steven just texted me, Braun Breaker. Just all the N's, all the R's. Just
Yo, his babyface turn, like when they really put that rocket on him, and it's gonna be crazy.
And then when you attach Paul Heyman to him and make him a Paul Heyman guy,
I don't think he needs Paul Heyman. I thought he was.
No, but I know he doesn't need him. But they're gonna do something with them together because Paul Heyman mentioned him when he was inducted to the Hall of Fame. He mentioned them there, and then they keep mentioning them about him working with him. So that's eventually going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Give Braun a manager. Give Braun a manager, and that guy is gonna skyrocket to the next level.
Yeah.
My manager, I like his promos though. I like the way he talks. I don't think he needs a manager to speak for him.
Because
I feel like we lose out on his character.
There's something about Braun that I enjoy. He when he speaks, he's awkward. He's weird. Look when he was doing the Kaiser impression. Like,
I thought it was funny.
It was funny, but you don't expect that from a guy like Braun Breaker.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And it makes it a lot more interesting. It makes his character a lot more interesting because it reminds me a lot about his uncle. Scott Steiner was a fucking weirdo in the ring. Scott Steiner, when he used to get on the mic, he was a weirdo. Braun Breaker
great at the same time though.
We're the freaks.
His promos
we're my big booty daddy.
Yeah, his promos were legendary though.
And look at Braun. Braun is he's in the same path as his uncle. He's on the same walkway as his uncle. That's what he's doing, and he's building himself up. So he's taking different chances that a lot of these young guys aren't able to do yet.
Yeah, and I think giving him a manager, but really lean into the fact that he's a former pro football player, and instead of seeing it like a manager, we need to see it like a sports agent. Of like, there's a guy who's going to book his match. He's going to do the talking. He's going to make sure he's represented, and then he just speaks whenever he needs to speak. Kind of like Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar in the beginning, though.
Yeah, same thing. And then who knows? We might see Braun Breaker versus Brock Lesnar, and I am sign me up for that. Take my money. I want to see that.
So. It depends. I don't want them having Brock Lesnar just throw him around because Brock Lesnar is way bigger than him. I don't want Brock Lesnar just treat him like Kofi.
That is not how you do it. That's not how you do it.
Yes,
if you're smart, if they're smart, Brock Lesnar shows up and he goes, "Let me show you how it's done, kid." And Braun Breaker absolutely mauls him into the next universe. 1, 2, 3, 5 minutes, and we're done.
That's it. Yeah, get Brock out of here. Yeah.
Nah, let him come back. Let Brock.
Yeah, we want Brock back. We want Brock back for a minute.
We all do.
Yeah, just for a minute. Bring him back. Let him have a match with Cena when Cena comes back.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see no SummerSlam, Suplex City. I don't want to see that again. That was not a good match at all.
Braun retaining the title. I'd like to see where Braun is going to go with this. I'd like to see newcomers go up against him. I'd like to see Bronson Reed versus Braun Breaker. That's gonna be some mental shit. If you get
That's
Braun
gonna be good.
Breaker and Bronson Reed for a good 2 months,
Amazing.
that.
I'm invested.
I'm invested already. Just hearing it.
I'm buying the Tsunami t-shirt.
Yo, every time you get doing it, I say it like come on call. I'm like Tsunami. Like it's so good.
I like Bronson Reed. That would be a good feud. Let's hope we see it in the
But
next
they're both
couple of weeks.
hills, so I don't think we're gonna see it soon. They both hills, but
Braun is like
Braun is on his way to being a
He's-
babyface.
he's a
Because it goes to
tweener?
barking.
He's a tweener, yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Hold on.
Next match of the evening, probably the
Your favorite
least
match?
interesting match for me.
Your favorite match, Steven?
The world heavyweight champion, Gunther
The ring general.
versus
Free trash?
Damian Priest.
the transsexual Undertaker. Is
The
that what they call
bisexual
it?
Undertaker? The bisexual Undertaker.
Bisexual.
Leave my uncle out of this.
bisexual
Leave my
with a
uncle Mark
bisexual
Calloway out
Undertaker.
of this, okay? This
Uh,
match was not bad. I liked the way they built Gunther back up because they had him looking like he was scared and he was not feeling himself and he had to show motherfuckers who he really was in this match.
Yeah, but Priest kind of held his own in this match, and he's been holding his own the last couple of weeks to a month. I just found that like it's two big guys, okay, that are basically both on the come up still. Gunther's still learning. Don't get it twisted. Gunther is still learning. Gunther is learning how to be a world heavyweight champion. Damian Priest too. And Damian Priest has been excelling in the last couple of months since he's held that world heavyweight champion. I just find that the storyline between them two is really stale. There's nothing that's coming out of it. I understand it's more of a filler feud. You know what I mean? For the next month to month and a half.
Real feud with Finn Balor.
Goldberg? Oh
no.
His real for Damian Priest real feud with Finn Balor that's coming. So they did the feud of the fuller feud.
That's been going on too long. Oh my gosh.
No, that's it's look, it's a feud that needs to end at some point, but it can't end just in a singles match that happened last month. It needs to be more of like in a like last man standing match or in a cage match or do something very violent and vicious because these two came from being part of a faction.
Yeah.
Well, it was all about that stuff. So, but I want to give props to Damian because he's been holding his own in the ring, and Gunther being that guy where Damian Priest was kind of like passing over him in that strength. And Gunther, obviously, he won. He retained the title, but Finn Balor had to interfere and had to kind of fuck up the match for Damian Priest. We knew Gunther wasn't going to win. Please raise your hand if you thought he was.
You knew Gunther. You mean Gunther was going to win?
Yeah, sorry, Gunther wasn't going to. Right. So,
I knew that.
But I just found the match was like, yeah, whatever. It just wasn't interesting to me. Derek, you're looking at me like you want to jump in and say that I was blind.
No, at all. I think you're right. I honestly don't think this was a good match at all. I think the best part of this whole thing is I think Gunther's body language leading up to this. I think he sold that really well. I think since the last pay-per-view, he's been selling the fact that like mentally he's not the same Gunther, the same confidence level. I think he was selling that really well because after the last pay-per-view, I was like, maybe he's sick. Like I felt like Gunther was not feeling his same old self.
Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
he lost to Cody.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that was the best part because I don't believe in Damian Priest as a face in any way, shape, or form. I really don't think he's good on the mic as a face. I think the best part of this was the promo work from Gunther. Anything else after that, I don't think was good. The match was slow. We didn't see the best of both guys. I think this was their single-handedly like Gunther's worst match in a long time and Damian Priest's worst match in a long time. And they had good matches beforehand individually from each other. And the match in which Gunther beat Priest for the championship was a good one. This one,
it didn't live up to the expectations as I thought.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it, like they had to fake another Priest injury on the shoulder and all that kind of jazz for Gunther to start feeling like comfortable already. But then the finish is not Gunther capitalizing on that injury. It's Finn Balor getting involved. So why even fake the injury?
Right. Finn Balor's going to get involved anyway.
Exactly. Because now Gunther is too much. But that's the point, is that now Gunther started getting back his mojo whenever he saw an injured Priest, but now he didn't win clean by, capitalizing on it. It got interfered. So now Gunther is still going to be the same unsure sort of Gunther we're going to get from the past, right? So I don't see this story evolving in the right way. Listen, don't get me wrong. I want Finn Balor to be involved. I think Finn Balor is severely underutilized. Don't get me wrong with that. But I don't think that this was the way. I don't think that this was the way to do it. I really don't think so. I think you have Priest lose clean, and then you have a tournament for a World Heavyweight Championship match, and then Finn Balor costs Priest his shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. Then he interferes. Then we could build from there. But I just didn't believe in the way that was put together for this pay-per-view.
Yeah, the ending didn't do too much for me either. Yeah, because like you said, what was the point of having an injury? Because that was my point too. It was like, all right, you got the injury. Gunther seeing it. You know how Gunther is. I'm gonna take advantage. He could have ended it like that, but to have Finn Balor come in, interfere to help Gunther, then Gunther pushes him because it's like, I don't need your help. Like, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cavallo?
I kind of feel like how you guys felt. It wasn't one of my favorite matches. I'm glad that their feud is over. I can't, huh?
It might be or might not. I don't know. Maybe they keep going with the Gunther.
No, I think that now Damian Priest is gonna finish with his Finn Balor Judgment Day stuff, and Gunther is gonna move on to whoever is the next challenger for the world title.
CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's gonna work.
CM Punk.
Like,
tomorrow
but
night.
I'm not ready for that yet.
Tomorrow.
I'm not ready for that yet. I don't think I'm ready for him to go for the title and lose. But I'm just happy for it to be over. I wasn't really invested in this feud that Gunther. I'm usually invested in all Gunther's feuds, but this one I just wasn't invested in. I think just because I was more invested in what Judgment Day had going on, because they made that such a interesting, drawn out feud. So yeah.
So we can move on to I know what's gonna happen with Gunther, and I want to keep that till the end because it's gonna play into this match that we're gonna talk about, the main event of the evening. The OG bloodline versus the new 2.0 bloodline. We have to name everybody that's in here.
Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk was on the original bloodline. Whatever.
Never.
On the original bloodline. And then on the new bloodline, we had the Tribal Chief, Solo Sikoa, the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Big Bronson Reed.
I'm raising my hand.
That's a team. Yes.
Imagine there was a tag team with Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu.
Put the belt on them. You got to put the belt on them.
Oh yeah,
I
sent out a video of their match on the Indies when they both were heavier. And,
yeah.
If that's how they fight against each other, with each other, it's no stopping it. I don't see any tag team that can beat them.
No, never. And the history of wrestling, they'd probably go down as a better tag team than the Usos.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know what it is? Big Bronson Reed, for him to be that big and to be that agile. Like, anytime fat niggas move that agile, I'd be scared. It's like, yo, you should not be able to move like that.
He's injured now. So
like him and Jacob, like, how do y'all move like that? And y'all
what's
big?
This?
Like,
what's this?
He's not injured. Bronson Reed is.
You didn't see the video that they released the video. He clearly from the top of the cage, he landed on his ankle when he went through the table.
He's fine. It's all part of the story. Trust me.
Did you guys hear before we start? Did you guys hear how the crowd every time Jacob Fatu did, the crowd was saying, "We love you, Solo"? Like, they were actually chanting, "We love you, Solo." Who's the biggest heel on SmackDown?
You know what else they was doing too? The crowd was doing
Solo.
The crowd was also doing the Tama Tonga. That too.
So
the crowd was doing that too. I was like,
how was the Bloodline 2.0 getting more crowd participation than the original?
Because it works.
They got personalities.
Exactly. It works. When something that's good and they got the personality and it works.
But the original Bloodline has more. The original Bloodline has way more personality. I feel
understand that, but you seen it. But you
Derek, don't you
What
dare.
besides what? Besides Roman just standing there, just
Yeah,
like
Roman just literally just him
literally just
raising the
looks.
mic to speak takes half the show.
Yeah, half the
Jay
yeah.
Uso just has the that's all he does. That he knows one word and it has 4 letters, and then
Right.
Jimmy
Uso is
sort of
just yeah, no yeet.
like that's all
That's
that's all
it.
he sort of
No
does,
Heat
and then
University.
Sammy's like this.
Right.
And just screams in the mic, and you can't understand what he's saying. He's useless on the mic. Sammy
But
said he
then-
doesn't
but-
bring nothing to the
But
table.
the
Listen,
but the
CM
new
Punk does.
bloodline.
that new bloodline. Listen, Solo
Got
has
charisma.
gotten much better.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Fatu, his presence is absolutely undeniable. Everything he
Mhm.
does from the mic work, even he spoke to the cameraman at some point. He's like, "Get out of my way, cameraman." He's like, "Watch
Mhm.
this," and then he just proceed to doing a backflip onto like the
Yeah.
guy from the top turnbuckle. Like the way he talks and the way he has such that persona of like the "I love you" Solo, but then when he cuts a promo, he sounds like just like a street guy. He talks like that,
Mhm.
just that grimy, like I'm just gonna get in your face, and that's what it is. And for as much as we like to shit on the Tongas, well, one of them we like to shit on.
Mhm.
You're about to
The
say.
other one's not so bad. But the
Yeah.
whole intro with him crawling on the cage,
Yeah.
and Michael Cole being like, what the hell is wrong with this
I'm
guy?
like,
I
why
could
is he
tell
doing-
he 100% felt like he didn't know what was going on inside that guy's head. At some point, he said something, and I think it was Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett just started uncontrollably laughing because Michael Cole said some absolute bullshit about Tongaloa, and it was great. It was actually really, really, really good. He's in the corner like a skits. It was great. For just that part in and of itself was good. The match was but
Yeah.
the intros were good. The characters were
The match
Yeah, the
was good
match
to
was
you?
it was okay.
I enjoyed it.
I
didn't
enjoyed
really-
it. I enjoyed the whole
Really?
thing from start to finish. I feel
Look,
like.
Really?
look, what I expected what was going to happen. Jay was going to start off the match.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was going to be a back and forth. Then Bronson Reed comes in.
I need the I want to say Jimmy Uso, he showed out the most. to me.
Absolutely.
Jimmy Uso was the star of that last match. And
But
when he did the corkscrew off the top rope, I was like, "Oh, I'm not familiar with your game, Jimmy." I'm like, "I'm sorry about that."
But the OG bloodline got their ass whooped.
I know.
That's exactly what
Yeah, That's
happened.
exactly what happened. And they
Well,
should
they
have
were
lost.
outnumbered, so of course they would have. And
And they should have lost.
the Bloodline 2.0 are bigger. Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu and Solo, them three right there are monsters. Like they can actually fight. So you have small CM Punk, who's the small CM Punk and Sami Zayn are the two small people of the group. Then the Usos cannot go against Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed. So you just got Roman Reigns. So I wasn't surprised that they got beat up. But I like how they brought the storyline into, like, you know, how CM Punk and Roman Reigns didn't get along, and they brought Paul Heyman out and all. Like, I like
Yeah.
the storyline. I think the match was good. I think it went. how it should have.
I will have to disagree with that one. I'm not looking to get into an argument. Paul Heyman coming out was so unnecessary. You guys have to work together to bring out the best in each other. Blah, blah, blah. We don't give a shit. CM Punk is the best in the world.
in the
He
world.
doesn't
That's
need
it.
that. And the other one's the tribal chief. They don't need to know that they work together. It's not necessary. That was completely unnecessary, as well as Solo locking the door of the cage, as in the cage didn't have an open fucking top to climb on, as if Roman Reigns doesn't know how to climb anything in his life. Come on now.
That's something that they do
now.
though. That's just what they do in WWE. I don't know why they do that. They did.
They
that
always
a
do stuff
few
like that,
matches.
though.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It makes
But
it
it's just
interesting.
silly though. But it's
But
just silly.
Roman
Like, come
Reigns
on.
usually doesn't climb over the cage and do a crossbody. That's not usually his stilo.
He walks
I
in.
understand, but if you're gonna lock him out to keep him out, right? So you put the thing on the cage. Only one person should be concerned with Roman Reigns trying to get in, and the other ones just maximize the damage on his partners, because that's the whole reason for locking him out, right? It's to do as much damage as possible without him being there. But all of them were really focused on him coming in, or you lock the cage. Everyone climbs to the top of the cage to prevent him from getting inside, like a perimeter security kind of thing.
But
Because
the
then,
match doesn't start though until he gets in. So they would have been fighting forever.
but that's
basically.
basically, because then they could do damage. They throw him off the cage, they beat him up a little bit, and then they just go back to beating everyone. And then Roman Reigns, the only one with fresh legs, and everyone else is half dead in the ring. And then they have to climb up unsurmountable opposition, and then they win, and then like, man, I can't believe that, but that didn't really happen. I don't know. This match felt, the pace of it felt, I don't know, it just felt off to me. CM Punk almost did nothing to Trap's point. Jimmy is the one that I felt carried the most. Sammy was really over with the crowd, but did practically nothing. It was the Usos.
Did nothing. Yeah,
it was literally the Usos.
It was literally the Usos.
Not too much for CM Punk. I feel like CM Punk did enough
at the beginning.
To help
at the beginning,
the team. He wasn't here to stand out. It's not his match.
The toolbox. He did three things. He did three things. He used the toolbox.
He saved Roman.
And just the end when they had the face off, then he gave him the GTS, and then Roman was able to give him the spear. He set him up.
That's what he did it for. He's a stand-in. It's not his storyline.
But then the match just feels like 5-on-2. You know, like that's the thing. And we can also, I think we can agree that out of the 5 from the OG bloodline, we've pretty steadily criticized Jimmy and Jay in a wrestling ring as them being not the strongest performers in the ring, but when these two guys are together, they just feed off of each other. But it's not normal.
Jay does the closed fist punches now. I'm glad he got rid of those open slaps that look stupid and fake. His punches looked more real yesterday.
Yep.
Like that's what wrestling is. Like when you doing the open hands, you make, number one, you're weakening the product of wrestling. You're making it look silly, and you're making it look to people who are not really wrestling fans like, oh, this shit is bullshit anyway. But when you connecting and making it look, that's what you're supposed to do. Now that's wrestling, and I feel like
they had
that's
no
what
choice.
they did yesterday. Yeah.
They had no choice because we had the Women's War Games match where they were going for the hits. We had Sheamus, Braun Breaker, which they were going for it. But the match couldn't be soft. The match couldn't be soft. It couldn't just be super kicks and spears. Like it had to be more than that, and it did deliver more than that. But the problem is that it was delivered by the two quote unquote weaker wrestlers. And then it just didn't really make Roman Reigns seem like a badass. It made Sami Zayn not really fit in, and it made CM Punk almost be obsolete. Honestly, had CM Punk not saved Roman Reigns, they could have been 5-on-4 and 1. It would have been the same thing.
I want to add something.
Jacob Fatu stood out too.
Though he always does.
But
the dude is a monster. You guys, I was watching Jacob Fatu, and I was just watching how he was in the ring. And this is probably the first time where there was actually a lot of people around him. And I was just watching him also when he was down. When CM Punk moved out of the way, because I don't think it was a fuck up. I don't think that he messed up when he jumped off the top rope. I think CM Punk just moved too late, and Fatu needed to really do something different. So and he started that fake injury that it was
injury.
Yeah. I just what he does in the ring and how he's able to tell a story. Okay, he's able to go down and really be like make it more interesting, because like a guy like him, remember Umaga never used to go down. Umaga just destroyed the whole match. Jacob Fatu does that to a certain extent, maybe about 80% of the time, maybe about 90% of the time. Jacob Fatu makes himself more accessible as a heel.
Absolutely, because he goes down. He goes down. Who was it? Was it Reigns or was it Punk? Someone hit something on him, and like you're like, oh, he's going to be down, and he just popped.
He did the kick back up.
He did the kick back up behind, and he was the crowd went insane because as invincible as he appears as a heel, he still goes down that you believe that they're doing damage, only for him to pop up with his athleticism and be like, yeah, you're going to need more than that. Come at it again. Listen, Jacob Fatu, for a guy who practically doesn't speak, who wrestles, he had his first singles match this week, actually. For a guy who's been in the business for a while, I don't think I am more looking forward more and more excited to see how a wrestler performs in the future than Jacob Fatu right now. He is probably one of the quote unquote hottest wrestlers in WWE, if not in the world right now. Everyone is tuning in because this guy is on a whole other level once they start really showcasing him in matches and singles matches, tag team, whatever the case may be. That sky's the limit. And Steven called it perfectly. Umaga. When Umaga came in, he made himself undeniable.
Yep.
And we're looking at it, and man, guys, I'm all for it. I'm all for
it. He's also able to shift gears quicker than Umaga was able to shift gears. I find Jacob Fatu stands out more. And when he does his spots are crisp. His finishes are on point, great,
crisp, very crisp.
Like he's just like right now. Like if people don't talk about him in the top 15 guys of the year, wrestlers of the year, and we'll do our top in the next couple of weeks to a month. Like if nobody's talking about him, then fucking people aren't watching.
Yeah, that's coming up, right? Oh, it's already December. We got to do our list, and we got to do our rap list too.
Yeah, and if Fatu isn't in there, people aren't watching wrestling correctly. People have no respect for what a guy like Jacob Fatu can do.
What month did he debut? Did he debut in June or July? Because he only been here for what, half a month, right? I mean, half a year, right?
No.
June?
No.
July?
When was Mania? Mania was in April. He came in, I think, end of May, June.
No, he was because I thought Tangaloa came in first. I mean, Tamatanga came in first. He was there for a while by himself, and then Tangaloa came in. They both was there by themselves, and then Jacob Fatu came. I think it was like the summertime. I feel like
mid-June, maybe. I'm trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. It's too long. There's too much that's happening.
So I can understand that people don't want to put him in right now, only because he only came in for 6 months.
But look what he's done. Put him in a 15. Put him in a 20. Like the dude's fucking good.
No,
like he's really good.
Him and Braun Breaker are my two favorites.
June 21st.
In to see. Okay, so
June 21st.
Okay. So he debuted June 21st.
So he's been here for literally six months. Yeah. Okay.
Are you guys happy with the finish?
No.
No.
When you say finish, you mean who won or what happened after the match was over?
No, who won, and how it happened.
I feel like like I said earlier, I feel like the heels should have won to show more of that. To show more of that, the original Bloodline isn't in charge as much, because I still want to see where the Rock is coming in at with this point. Like I just don't know what's going on.
Not only that,
storyline.
I feel like Roman Reigns don't need to win right now anymore. Like he's already over. Like you need to build more heat on this new Bloodline. I feel like I feel like they should have won, especially if they want to keep it going or have something going on with them more. I just feel like now that they won, so now what's next? Roman Reigns going to be like, all right, I'm the tribal chief now again. You got to.
And now you want to face Cody again? Like now it's like where the Solo go?
I know exactly what's going to happen.
I feel like they should have won. The heel should have won, and then keep on building on how they're strong.
And something needs to happen. I know exactly what needs to happen. Derek, did you like it before I give my point?
I mean, the overall match or the finish?
Finish.
No, I think to everyone's point, I think the heels should have won. I don't think Roman Reigns should have been pinned inside that finish. I think it should have been someone else because, like I said, two of them carried the match. You can't really have Reigns get pinned because that would be the second time he would get pinned. So that means you can't pin Punks. That means it would have been Sammy, right? So I think there was a way for them to. They've been marketing Solo being smarter. He locked the cage and so on and so forth. I feel like if they would have had another ace in their sleeve, like throwing him out of the cage and then locking it in, and then it's blocking it again, like have another chain, and then it's 5 on Sammy, and then they just obliterate Sammy 1, 2, 3. Like, because then they could go back into that fight, be like, we never had a fight a chance. They, they locked us out, they sneaked their way. That's fine. But now it's 1-1, and I'm kind of already over this feud, to be perfectly honest. Like I'm not over it if the heels win. Like if the heels win, now I really want the faces to win. But now it's 1-1. I'm like, yeah, okay, stop it here. I don't give a shit. So yeah, no, I didn't like the finish. We'll talk about the after, because the after, that was absolutely garbage. But I know, Steven, you want to make a point in terms of what's going to happen next. So I'll let you take it off from there.
I'm happy that they won. And the reason why I'm happy that Roman won and the OG won is because now we can get back to the basics of Roman Reigns taking back the Ulafala, okay, and after actually going up against Solo Sikoa in one-on-one matches and having that back and forth. I'm tired of the OG bloodline. I don't need Sammy in there. He's not family. We
You
can
just
get
don't like
Sammy out of
Sammy,
there.
that's why.
No, but this is the Samoans. It's the bloodline. I don't want the Sammy in there. Get him out of there. Yeah, he helped out. They won. Wonderful. Okay, thanks for
He's an
thanks for your
honorary
visit.
Uso. He's an
Thanks for your
honorary
visit.
Uso.
I don't need you anymore. CM Punk, thanks for the help. You could go back to what you were doing. Okay. You know what?
I feel you.
Let's get back to Roman Reigns. He wants back the head of the table. He's not the head of the table now. Yes, he's calling himself that. Yes, he's calling himself the OTC. He has nothing. What does he have? He has nothing.
But him going against the Solo does not stop the new bloodline from interfering and still jumping him. So it's still always going to be Roman versus all of those guys. They're not going anywhere.
Now it's time for him to really use his cousins, or not even use them at all. Let them go back. Let him take over by himself, or start bringing other people in. Bring Azilla Fatu and bring somebody else from the family in. Really make it more interesting as to where you're just going to walk around with the OG bloodline and nothing is really going to come of it. They're just going to be going back and forth.
Who gives a shit about him being who gives a crap about the head of the table? This whole bloodline thing, it's once Roman Reigns wins and he's back to being the head of the table, it's over.
Yeah.
That bloodline story, that head of the table bullshit, it's over. We got it for 4 years. The fans don't want Roman Reigns as the head of the table again, running a shot, winning another title for another 4 years. That's not what we want. Right now, Roman Reigns needs to get brought down to beat him fighting to reality, him fighting for championships, and him realizing that now he needs to do this alone, because then he'll always be Roman that gets his weight done with other people. It's the same thing with Solo. It's the same thing with Solo. If Solo hadn't pinned Roman Reigns one-on-one with the Samoan spike, no one would believe Solo able to beat Roman Reigns. And now you have Solo get pinned, right? Not anyone else. Solo get pinned, but now you made Solo... You actually made Solo look stronger because it needed everyone to do their finishing move to bring him down and to get it. That's not how you do it. Yeah. If you're gonna have the faces win, you have a big guy pin a small guy, 1, 2, 3, run it back. You don't have Solo take all of everyone's finishers and then to get pinned. That's not how you do it, because then you're gonna be like, oh, Roman Reigns needed those finishers to pin Solo, and then what's going to happen then? Listen, I'm going to trust Triple H that he knows where he's going with this.
Yeah.
But if it's to have Roman Reigns get that Ula Fala back, after that, I think it's really hard to believe in Roman Reigns as the head of the table. Jay's got his own thing going. Jimmy's has his own thing going. Sammy's got his own thing going. Maybe the Usos want to run it back. Maybe they want to go their separate ways. But then Roman Reigns is going to be by himself. And if he just brings everything else, we're just going to keep comparing it to the OG bloodline. Then what's going to happen once that starts getting stale? We're going to re-bring it back. The OG, it never ends. It's got to end at some point. And the only way is for Roman Reigns to lose and have the new bloodline run the shit for a while.
And he goes away, Roman, for a bit?
He doesn't go away.
No, not go away. Just lose. And losing, and it's the thing with Roman Reigns, because he's been so dominant for so long, losing is not going to affect him. That's the thing about it.
So where does he go from losing? Where does he go from there?
From losing nowhere. There's nowhere to go.
What do you mean there's nowhere to go?
He needs to finish this. He needs to finish what's going on with his cousin. He needs to get the Ula Fala back, and then he needs to go on his merry way and win the Royal Rumble and go up against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
He could go up against Cody Rhodes even if he loses.
We don't want that 3 years in a row.
He could go against Cody Rhodes even if he wants to. Also, there's a feud with The Rock coming up. I feel like that's probably what's going to be cooking. We don't need this. We just genuinely don't need this, because then what happens? You're like, oh, he needs to finish this. What happens when everyone finishes their story? We're going to get a second year of him finishing his story and getting the Ula Fala. And then what happened to Cody Rhodes? He's waning down. He's waning down. The crowd's not behind him anymore. His hype was him chasing and him chasing and him chasing. Once he wins, there's only one place to go, and that's down from there.
Yep.
Especially if he loses his bloodline, he loses his cousins. Now he's just by himself. He's the head of what table? His own table? Guess what? Just have a circular table at that point if you want to be like the only guy at your table. He's going to eat alone at a bar. Paul Heyman's about to leave. He's about to go do a favor for CM Punk. We know what that's going to be.
Right,
So
or
then
work with Braun
he's by
Breaker.
himself anyway. Now, if he wins, he's still by himself. So might as well lose and be by yourself, then win
Right.
and be by
And
yourself.
then that makes a better storyline because like, yeah, look, he's been losing because he don't got nobody in his corner. That
Yeah.
makes a great storytelling too. And like I said, it doesn't affect Roman Reigns at all having him lose or put over the other wrestlers because it's not going
Yeah.
to diminish him. It's just going to
And
tell a story.
and if you have him lose and The Rock steps in, he's like, I know who you thought you were. You're a disappointment to this
Mm-hmm.
family. I'm the real boss around here.
I'm the real
And now
tribal
that sets
chief.
up
Yeah.
now that sets up that feud to be interesting. Not if he wins.
Yeah.
That's my
I
opinion. Like,
understand.
clearly
No,
mind trap.
no, I agree because I didn't think they should have won. I thought the Hill should have won. Like I said, to make them stronger. But again, all you doing is making Roman Reigns over again, and it's like, okay, now where do we go from here with this bloodline? Is it
Mm.
bloodline, or are Jimmy and Jay going for solo stuff now? And what are we doing here?
I just don't think
It
that we
has to
can
end.
make
It
Roman
has
look.
to end eventually.
But you can't make Roman look this weak. He can't lose again.
But he
Roman's.
doesn't look weak though. That's
I
the
find
thing.
he
You
looks
keep saying
weak.
he
He
looks
does.
weak.
If he loses twice back to back to the pay-per-view, he just got pinned last pay-per-view. If he loses this time or two with his group that he put together that he needed to help him, it makes him look weak.
Absolutely.
I disagree.
Absolutely.
I don't think it makes him look weak.
And now we need to have some solo single matches with Roman. Fucking do last man standing matches. Do a bunch of shit like that. Do a ladder match with the Ulafala at the top. You gotta bring it back to the basics of why Roman Reigns came back and why he wants to be the tribal chief and why he wants that Ulafala and why he wants to be the head of the table. He wants
But
to take
as
it
long
away
as you
from
can't
solo.
get rid of the bloodline, it's never going to happen.
That's what
Roman
I'm
will never
saying.
have a singles match with Solo so long as Solo has his people. And the thing is that Roman Reigns' bloodline is a lot weaker in terms of their unity than the
new
OG than the new bloodline. And Michael Cole even said at the beginning, how did the new bloodline come in together? How did the old bloodline come in? Everyone had their separate intro.
Yo, Jay came out after Roman. That should tell you something right there. Jay Uso came out last, not Roman.
But they came out separate because they were broken up and they actually made their own path. Last year and the year
I
before that,
understand
they
that.
came in
But-
together. They're
But that's why Michael Cole said it because that's part of the story.
Yeah.
Like they're telling you something there. So that's why it made sense.
And you if you believe that there's any way for Roman Reigns to have a one-on-one match with Solo and Solo's bloodline doesn't get involved, even if they're barred from ringside, whatever the hell it is. Steven said a ladder match. Guess what? A ladder match is no disqualifications.
Yeah, so they're gonna come in anyway.
Yeah, they're going to come in anyway. They're going to come in anyway. Roman Reigns literally showed us with his original bloodline, whenever he was the head of the table, that they would always get involved in his business no matter what. The new bloodline is just going to do the exact same goddamn thing. If it's only going to lead to that in 4 months, then just do it now and start building another feud.
I think it takes away from the storyline, and the whole point of it is that Ulafala.
Yeah, I agree with Steven.
So it needs
The pepper necklace.
He wants it back. He's got to get it back for this to all go away or this to go into a different direction. He wants it back. Make him get it back.
If that's the plan, why the camera lingering? Why the Paul Heyman owing CM Punk a favor? Like, if you're going to be going for that Ulafala, then that's what he should go after, right? He pins Solo. Solo gets pinned, and then he takes it, looks at it, and then just throws it on him. You know, no. What did they do at the end of the match? There was the longest them leaving the ring I've ever seen in my life.
I thought somebody was coming out the way they kept doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I thought someone was gonna get involved.
I was upset the way that they ended it. So I was
I'm like, it's taking that long.
I learned my lesson last year when CM Punk came out at the very end when they showed the little logo. I'm like, let me just stay here at this bar and see what's going on. And then it just went off. I'm like, what? Triple H? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And then what is it? Everyone hugs Paul Heyman, and then CM Punk's like, when I call for that favor, expect you to answer. He's like, I will. Like now clearly the story is not Roman Reigns getting the Ulafala, is what's the favor.
Right.
That's
not
going to be
now,
focused on that.
But now he's intertwining two different storylines. He's intertwining on Raw with CM Punk and on SmackDown with Roman Reigns. So that I feel like that helps. It still makes it interesting though, because I feel like Roman Reigns still want to know what's that relationship still like with you and him, and why wasn't I, why wasn't I told about it? And CM Punk still has him on this side with the favor, whatever that is. I feel like
are we about to get two guys have a match with the stipulation is that whoever wins gets another guy? Are we about to
No.
get
Paul
that?
Heyman.
Oh yeah, exactly.
No,
Like
no.
one-on-one match, whoever wins gets Paul Heyman. Paul
I
Heyman
don't
just
think
get tossed around like
I
a
don't
street
think
hoe.
CM Punk wants Paul Heyman. I feel like when the last time we seen CM Punk and Paul Heyman together, Paul Heyman asked him, "Please take me with you because the new bloodline's beating me up." CM Punk clearly, I guess they might say that since they both was gone, that CM Punk took him under his wing, got him better, and came back and helped him. Maybe that's the favor. Like, oh, you asked me to take you away. I helped you. I helped Roman beat him, and now,
Maybe
but
the
you don't
maybe
know.
the maybe the favor is actually getting a phone that works this time. Who knows? Maybe I got a phone line that works this. But listen, it is what it is. We're talking a whole bunch of smack. Is just it just didn't feel cohesive. I
Yeah,
don't
that was
agree.
my
I
only thing
don't
about the match.
disagree. It didn't feel cohesive in the finish. It didn't feel cohesive in the match. The after the match didn't like. We're looking for the end of the events for a stare down, for something to let us on as to what's next. And the only clue that they gave us is what's the CM Punk favor. That's it. Not Roman Reigns looking at the Ula Fala.
Right.
Not nothing like that. It's literally just them sort of like hugging it out, and then CM Punk just sort of like slipping in the middle and doing this, which also just don't do nothing at that point. If you're gonna take a nap on stage, just do nothing. It just didn't feel cohesive. It felt like they put a lot of effort in the match, but after the match, it felt like very blotched and put together. And then we're like, okay, let's just give him a little something, whatever. We'll figure this shit out later on. And I don't know.
I don't know. I got to see
We'll
what
see.
happens on Raw and SmackDown this week.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah,
I tell us
It's
more.
interesting.
I gotta see what happens on SmackDown. I'm not gonna give up on Triple H's writing because I feel like now we're going into WrestleMania, Royal Rumble season, and I feel like it's gonna make sense. I have faith, so I
No, they
want to
got to
see
put
where
John
his.
Cena in somewhere because John Cena's coming back. So they know they're going to
I
be
hope
working
he's
on
not
him.
involved. I hope he's not involved in anything
He's
that we're speaking
involved in
about.
everything.
I hope
His
not.
retirement. He's going
I
to be
hope
on
not.
a lot of dates.
I just wish he would just retire like everybody else. I don't think he needs to go on a run. We know how good he is. He's 16-time champion. I don't think he needs to go on a whole year run beating everybody. I just don't think it's needed. But if that's what you enjoy, that's on you. I'm not interested in seeing John Cena come back and wrestle at all. I feel like his last few matches were horrible, and I think it's time to hang it up. But that's neither here nor there.
Before we get up out of here, there's two things I want to just add to this episode. This is gonna come out after Raw. Punk is coming out on Raw first. He's opening up the show. He is going to ask Gunther for a title shot.
You think
so?
Yeah. Either Seth Rollins is going to interfere and not make that happen, or he's going to get that title shot.
Where's Drew McIntyre?
And hold that thought, Trap. And Seth Rollins is going to interfere in the match when CM Punk is after Gunther.
But why is that? Seth Rollins still probably beefing with Bronson Reed. They didn't finish their feud.
No, because Seth Rollins, if you looked at the stare down back when was it?
When Punk left after Bad Blood?
Yes, after when Drew, what was it? Was it a triple threat match? And CM Punk interfered and CM Punk interfered and Damian Priest retained the title. And Seth Rollins went to Punk and he said, "You always get in my business, etc., etc." And then
but they also had a stare down before CM Punk left after Bad Blood in October. They had a stare down before he left.
And that too.
Seth Rollins still has unfinished business with Bronson Reed, who just injured him and had him out for months. So I feel like he needs to finish that feud first. Then you go to CM Punk. So don't just jump into CM Punk.
I feel like that Bronson Reed feud, I feel like they got away from him once he put him in the bloodline. And then once Seth said, "I'm not joining your team," so that's kind of like, I don't give a fuck about Bronson Reed.
I feel like that was bad. I feel like he should have been involved if you're gonna have Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed was feuding with Seth Rollins.
I said that too. But
yeah, I didn't understand that. But
there's something.
You never know where they're gonna go. There's something brewing. One thing that I can say, as much as we always talk about the writing, like we always say stuff, and then they do something that we be like, all right, it makes sense. Eventually, it's gonna make sense.
Sometimes,
but it makes sense. No, it does. Triple H doesn't. It makes sense after a while. So,
and number two, to Trap's comment, if there's somebody that I'm missing Drew McIntyre.
Same.
If there's someone I'm missing and someone that deserves a title shot or deserves to come back and go on a fucking rampage, it's Drew McIntyre. And mark my words, whether you're a fan of this, you're listening to this now or never listening to this, I don't give a shit. It's going to be out in the world. Drew McIntyre is going to come back, either win the Rumble or he's going to get a title shot and beat Gunther at WrestleMania. And he's finally going to be able to hold that title. I am
think so?
telling
I
you,
like
the
that.
person
I
that
don't
is
think
going
so.
to dethrone
that.
Gunther, the person that's going to dethrone Gunther is Drew McIntyre. And I didn't know till maybe about a week ago that there's something missing in WWE, and it's Drew McIntyre's energy,
Absolutely.
his mic skills, and his fucking
matches,
his presence.
Yeah, I love
his
Drew
presence.
McIntyre.
But I feel like we should wait until January. I feel like these 2 hour Raws is not enough for him to come back. I feel like the time cut is not enough time for everyone to be on the show where they have storylines already brewing. So I feel like wait till January when everybody is getting their time. Not right now. Don't bring him back on Monday.
To win the
win the Rumble. You bring him back if you're gonna. To Steven's point, either he only joins at the Rumble, no promo before, just shows up at the Rumble. He shows up like middle of the pack, like number 10, number 11, ends up winning the whole goddamn thing. Or
winning is crazy.
Netflix debut.
Yeah, I agree with the Netflix debut.
Start swearing everywhere.
Right, because you can now. Netflix shows up, and then Drew McIntyre shows up
on that
for the simple reason because people are going to be tuning into this Raw. We're going to be tuning in, but you people are going to be tuning in, and you want to give them a wow moment. Not necessarily a wow moment, but like have someone that you've never seen before, and they show up, and Michael goes like, "He's been gone for 6 months," or whatever the case may be. Now people are interested, like, who's this Drew McIntyre guy? And then you start going to the backstory because that's the big reveal of the night, right? So there's something to build on that if that's the way you do it. Also, who are we kidding? If Raw is on Netflix, which it will be, there's gonna be a lot more ladies tuning in. Girlfriends are gonna be tuning in, and I mean, in all fairness, Drew McIntyre, the ladies are gonna like Drew McIntyre. The ladies are gonna like Drew McIntyre. The guy's Jack, long hair, beard, 6'4", 6'5", 275.
Cavallo, say pause.
Damn, pause might have really saved my life.
I know for a fact. I don't think that I'm going to watch it, and my girlfriend's going to be like, "Who's that?" I'm going to be like, "Oh, that's Drew McIntyre." She's like, "Oh, don't you have a doll of him?" I'm be like, "Yeah." Oh, nice.
A doll.
I feel like the girls are gonna be looking at Roman Reigns. They're gonna be looking at The Rock. I don't think they're gonna be looking at Drew McIntyre. But
I mean, you look at The Rock if you're in your 50s, like,
or if you like guys on roids,
right?
You're dumb. I'm not even commenting on that.
The beginning, remember the beginning of the year, I said that the women need more titles because it's too much in the division, and look what happened. We got 2 titles.
It's not needed,
but it's good. No, it is needed because they can't all keep fighting for that one title.
They can't even
make it interesting.
Even make the tag team even good. The tag team is not even defending their titles.
The tag team is good.
When was the last time they had a title defense?
Bianca and Jade are good, but my thing is this: who are the women tag team that they have? They don't really.
They're going through 3 shows. They're tag teams within 3 different shows.
But also to Trap's point, who got the second loudest pop in the women's War Games match? Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair.
But she always does. Bianca gets the
but that's the thing.
Champion.
They are the most protected champions right now in WWE. It's them two.
Who?
Cody. It's the women's tag team champions.
Okay.
Cody is about to lose. Gunther is not protected. They're making him look weak. The Intercontinental Champion, maybe, because Braun Breaker looks pretty good, but he also lost it like a few weeks ago. Those tag champs, the women's tag champs, are steamrolling through everything and everyone. They had to take out Jade Cargill because otherwise it wouldn't have been fair if Jade Cargill would have been in that match. Also, let's not forget, Bianca Belair beat Nia Jax.
Yeah.
For the
Does
advantage.
she keep the title by herself, though? Is it fair that she keeps the title for as long as they say Jay's going to be out?
She'll come back. They're brewing that split, but something big is coming for either one of those 2 superstars. And
I feel like they need to take the title away from her because they make it seem like she's injured. She shouldn't have it by herself, and then it not be defended. That makes no sense.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah. But I'm just glad they finally got a mid-card belt for them because you can't have 13, 14 girls just fighting for one belt.
Exactly. Make it more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So now they got the United States women's title and the Continental women's title. Cavallo just don't want to see women on the screen. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I think I'm just traumatized by NXT. I think I'm just traumatized by NXT because it's like 90% women.
NXT. That's the NXT brand.
I know. I just said I'm traumatized. That's all I see.
So then
I feel like we have enough women on Raw and SmackDown to where they're fighting for the the regular title, and they have feuds where the title's not involved. Like we just had Michin versus
I
Chelsea
understand that.
Green, and that was an okay feud. They gave them time, and there was no title involved. You don't need a title involved for every feud.
But
Yes,
do keep in mind that
but
we spoke about this before with LA Knight. You want to see what you're able to
exactly
do, and we want to see you hold something of value
right
in the
before we could
company and
just
see
yeah
if you're ready for the big shot.
for the main
And if they
shot. You
don't
can't.
hold anything, you won't know until they're
And
ready.
how
And
can you
then you're just
know?
gonna have someone get the title, and then you're gonna make them lose in 2 weeks because they
Lose it
suck.
exactly.
I don't know. I'm just not
Yeah.
interested in the second title. I feel like they
Give
should
him
just
a
go with
shot. Give him
the
a
world
shot.
title or the tag team. That's
I
I just
agree. I agree, and I'm not a fan of the women's division, but I agree because you're putting a lot more. You're shining a light
Bruh,
on a lot
it's more
more
women in
individual
wrestling now,
people.
so you have to
Yeah,
do
more
it. It only
storyline.
makes sense.
You
Look
can
at
still have
AEW.
storylines
How
without a
many?
title, though. That's what I'm saying. It's
But
been
but
that
Yeah,
way
but
for
Cavallo,
it doesn't.
years.
but
You keep
Cavallo, do
saying
keep in
that
mind it's going to be on
it's
Netflix.
one right,
You can't
and
just
not
have
only
two
that,
titles for all these
for
women,
all
and
these
then you have
women,
4 titles for the men. There's going to be a lot more
right,
ladies tuning in. They
and not
want to
only
see
that,
get that
AEW
gold.
has how many women titles because they
And
need to
that's an
compensate the
issue.
women
That's an issue.
Oh yeah,
because they need to compensate the women.
and that I'll agree with Cavallo. I don't want to have a Raw that's 3 hours and
No,
2 hours of it is just women's matches. I'm
It's
gonna
not going to
just
do that.
tune
You
the
know they're
fuck
not going to
out.
do that.
that's
We
not
don't
gonna
know.
happen.
We
NXT is the
don't
women's
know.
show. NXT is the women's show. So you're
SmackDown
not going to
was
be
as
worried
well.
about that.
SmackDown was as well, and I never used to tune in. I would just fast forward through everything because it was boring as hell.
I think this Friday was just more women matches than anything else.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
Well,
3
women
women's
are part
matches.
of wrestling now.
bring a
What's wrong with
title.
that? But y'all don't like women wrestling. Y'all so misogynistic, man.
Absolutely,
I just want to see men. Y'all
110%.
just want to see sweaty
Yeah.
men.
Big
That's what
beefy
y'all want to
men
see. Yeah,
bumping
look,
meat.
that's what y'all want to see.
Pause,
Y'all don't
but
want to. Yeah, but you don't want to see
pause.
women. You don't
Oh,
want to see Tiffany
please.
Stratton and her
I can
chicks.
see her. I'm just saying that
But you want to
I can
see
see her,
big
but I have
beefy
to see
men.
her for the
Get
whole
out of
damn
here.
2 hours. What the fuck?
And
When
welcome to
it's
the
us
episode
four,
where we just
yeah,
shit on Cavallo the whole evening.
when it's
Please,
Pause.
you know I can hold it.
when it's us four, this never feels like a podcast. It literally feels like 4 guys at a bar. They've had a little bit too much to drink, and everyone hears our conversation. That's all it feels like. It's just us talking
I
shit.
like it.
I love
But
it. I
that's
love
why I
it.
like it. That's
Yeah, I
what
like
makes it
it.
authentic.
Oh,
That's what
Lord.
makes it authentic for the
Stop.
listeners.
I need your rating for this Survivor Series
For
War
the Survivor
Games.
Series, 7 out of 10 for me. I'm gonna give
Wonderful,
it a 7 out of 10 because
Cavallo.
again, like I said, the beginning match was good. I love the Sheamus Braun Breaker. That was the highlight of the night. The only match that I really didn't like was the Damian Priest and Gunther.
Mhm.
Again, like I said, the women's matches started off kind of slow, so that kind of ruined it for me. I didn't like the Damian Priest and Gunther match, and then the last match in the War Games, I feel like the heel should have won. There wasn't really much production from everybody outside of besides Jacob and the Usos who performed the most, and I feel like they got the ending wrong, and the heel should have won. But overall, 7 out of 10 for me. That's why I give it that 7 out of 10.
Cavallo.
I'll give it a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. It was too. I feel like it was kind of short. I feel like if they would have put more emphasis and time into preparing for the matches, it wouldn't look as sloppy as it did. I feel like both matches looked kind of over planned. I feel like I feel like these four. This Survivor Series is one of the big four. I feel like the ending of both matches should have progressed storylines, and it didn't. It just ended. Like I would have hoped that once the cage rose from the women's match, that Tiffany Stratton would try to cash in or do something like just something interesting, but nothing happened. They just lost, and that's it. And the men won. That nothing happened. So it's like, yeah, it was a 6 out of 10 for me, and I'm shocked that Survivor Series
Yep.
was a 6 out of 10.
Derek.
6.5. I'll split the difference. Yeah, for listen, all the negatives that Cavallo and Trap mentioned, it's pretty much it rang true for me as well. I do think that there were great singles matches in there. In terms of the talent involved, I do think that everyone that was involved in the event in and of itself, I think they're all talented wrestlers. But I've said this before, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. There are too many PLEs. The stories feel rushed. It's a month to build stories is not a long time. It's not a long time to let it sit. You got to let it simmer. You got to let it marinate a little bit in order to develop more storylines. But I will say, and I texted Steven this, that pay-per-view felt like they were hitting harder than usual. Like the spots, the contact they were making, I felt like it was hard hitting from the women's match, which felt hard hitting, all of them. I felt like it was hitting pretty hard. The spots were big. It felt like everything hurt, from the big Bronson Reed off the cage and so on and so forth. It just felt big, but you need to develop deeper storylines for a top 4 pay-per-view, and for that reason, it was a 6-on-5.
Derek, you said that you feel like it's too many PLEs, right? It was always been one a month, but you don't think that it's good that they don't always put every match on a pay-per-view? Like, for example, Cody Rhodes, even though he's the champion, I'm surprised he wasn't on the match for Survivor Series. But I like that they broke it up and waiting for December and broadening the storyline to make it more interesting. So I feel like that works.
So it might be me, because right now we're doing the podcast and I'm probably following wrestling a lot more as a critic rather than a fan. But I did feel like when I was watching it more as a fan in high school and when I was a kid, I do feel like there was a lot less PLEs, a lot less pay-per-views. I don't feel like it was one a month. I feel like it was maybe one every month and a half, every 2 months. Like there was getting close to WrestleMania. I do feel like they were getting stacked, but I felt like the spacing, there was less pay-per-views back in the day.
I feel what you're saying, yeah.
I felt like it was less. Either it was less, or the fact that Raw and SmackDown were a little shorter. Well, now we're back to 2 hours, but I feel like there's just a lot of wrestling. Like you get the Raw, you get the SmackDown, and then you have 3 Raws, 3 SmackDowns, and then you get a pay-per-view. It just doesn't feel like it's enough. It just doesn't feel like it's enough time to let something sit and something simmer. I would probably want to see a month and a half. Like ideally, I want 5 weeks, 5 consecutive weeks of weekly episodes, and then a pay-per-view. Because right now we get 3 weeks and a pay-per-view. I feel like 3 weeks is not enough. I honestly feel like 5 weeks, I feel like it's more time. You let it develop. You see what the fans are listening to, because at 3 weeks, if you start a story, you start a direction of something, and let's say it doesn't work, that gives you 2 weeks to change it up. And that's not enough time to change it up. Whereas if you give it 5 weeks, you start with something, see how the fans respond to it, and then you adjust it for the next 3-4 weeks. And then you have the pay-per-view, because you have a pay-per-view in which fans will be invested. They know what the stakes are. They know what the story is. They believe in the story because you've built it. And then it goes from there. I've said this before. Once again, they want to maximize money. I get it. But for me, it just feels like a diluted product.
Yeah, because the next one is in a couple of weeks. The next pay-per-view, the Saturday Night Main Event.
2 weeks.
That's what I'm saying. And then what's after that? Royal Rumble. But that's all the way at the end of January.
February 1st.
Yeah, so that's good. So there's nothing in January.
That's 2 months. Yeah,
that's good.
Unless they unless they move the Saudi from February to January.
No.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
Steven.
I'm gonna give it a 6 as well. Look, positive points. I became a fan of Shinsuke. I like what he's doing. I'm not mad that he lost the title. I love the spots. I think the spots in each match were the highlights of the evening. The negative is just I like my PLEs, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them, with 7 matches, 8 matches. That's what I like. I like my product stacked. That's what I want. I wanted to see Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens, and then another match at probably Saturday night's main event. Make the feud, make them have more matches, not just one match and it's done. Fucking make them have a singles match and then a last man standing. I keep saying last man standing because I love that match. Make them have a street fight. Make them have more. Build it. Something. Back in the days, the feuds were 3 months to 4 months. How many times did The Rock and Stone Cold fight each other, or The Rock and Mankind before the feud was over? Like 10 times. There's none of that anymore. Like you need a build. You need to build. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, man. They fought each other before it ended so many times in that year. They fought each other at SummerSlam. Then they had the 3 stages of hell. Then they had a cage match. Exactly.
Survivor Series, Elimination Chamber.
You're more interested into the feud. I want to get interested. I don't want to get interested and then lose it. It makes no sense. So,
I agree, but I'll bring us back to something that we said on the previous podcast. We had best of 7 with Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, and you guys were all done with it after 5.
Jesus Christ, they did it every week. It's fucking annoying.
But Steven, you just fucking said that you want them to fight all the time.
There was no other stipulation. It
Who
wasn't one
cares
match
about
that
a
it was.
stipulation? The
You
stipulation.
want stipulations.
No, Steven wants to see someone set another person on fire.
No.
And the week after he gets set on fire, he wants the other person to see through thumbtacks, and then he wants to see chairs, and then he wants to like. I
But it
know where
makes
you're coming
sense.
from. I know where you're coming from. I
Like,
know where
You
you're
gotta
coming
watch
from.
AEW for that.
Right. People flipping off a glass.
Right.
And I understand where you're coming from. You want momentum. You want to see momentum change. You want to see it go to one guy and then go to the other guy. I get it. I 100% get it. But eventually, there's a strong chance that if you do that, that the whatever match you're going to have on like a weekly episode show is going to be better than a pay-per-view match. And then you're going to feel disappointed by the
Right.
pay-per-view match.
Exactly. And that's what happens.
So you have to keep that in mind too. If you have too much, you're diluting your product. You're just diluting that product. I understand you want it stacked. If we're going to stack it, yes, we can have championship matches. Luckily, we have more women's championships. We need more championships in the men. We need to bring back the cruiserweight. We need to the European Championship. NXT, I've said it before. If you're going to be doing 3 hours of pay-per-view, please put fucking NXT on it.
Right.
Please put NXT on it. Show us the future. Make it like the UFC that there's like a fight night and it's like an hour, 2 hours before. Do something like that, and then you start gaining momentum. But by having Cody Rhodes fight every week, and then he's supposed to finish a story at a pay-per-view, there might be a Monday night match that's going to be a lot better. And then everyone's going to be like, well, that match sucked. They're like, yeah, but obviously he had that great match on a Monday.
On Monday, right. On Netflix. Yeah. Or on SmackDown on Friday.
Yeah. So
I understand.
It's a 50-50 thing. If done right, it could work. But if it's done wrong, it could fuck up a lot of shit.
Then it's fucked up. Yeah.
Boys,
absolutely.
I appreciate you guys being on. We'll be getting back together mid to end of December to give our top 10 of the year.
What, wrestlers?
Top 10 wrestlers of the year. We're probably going to do the top 5 matches of the year.
I gotta go back and look.
Yeah, you have a lot of work to do, Trap. It's a big homework assignment.
Is that only WWE or is it
WWE?
All? It's gonna be all, but I know you guys only watch WWE, so you're allowed to only pick WWE stuff.
But
Trap has a lot of time on his hands. But it's gonna be overall wrestling.
Okay.
Overall.
All right.
Cavallo, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. I'm happy that y'all all didn't go at me today. So.
Well, I'm happy you got your mic situation figured out, because otherwise it would have been a long podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Hate on Cavallo podcast.
Yeah.
Is it the hate on Cavallo, or is Cavallo hating on us?
No. Y'all always disagree and go at me when I say something.
You disagree with us.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree. It's called opinions, but y'all all go at me. It's like, damn, just because I don't agree, like, it's okay.
No.
It's
entertainment.
Sometimes you say some of the wrong stuff. That's all.
No, I don't say anything wrong.
Here we
You
go.
say a lot of wrong
If you
stuff.
haven't already liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe. We bring you nothing but the best in hip hop and wrestling, all combined in one, and we don't promote anything Sami Zayn, that homeless man.
Oh, no.
Thank you once again, boys. I appreciate you all.
Are the views of Steven only. Thank you.
If you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
Like and subscribe.
Peace.